The date is February 28th. Oh, February 27th. It's one of those days. It's a Saturday, the day before Sunday. I think it's the 27th or 28th. I'm not sure. I don't want to get up. But it's either one of those days. Today we're going to read 8 and 9 of Genesis. So here we go. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 7th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. After 40 days, Noah opened the window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. And then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find no place to set its feet, because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a fleshly plucked olive leaf. And then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. I think that's a good sign that the dove did not return. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah and then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was completely dry. And then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number upon it." So Noah came out together with his sons and his wives and his sons' wives, all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves on the earth, came out of the ark, one kind after another. And then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of man, even though every inclination of his heart is evil from childhood. And never again will I destroy all living creatures, as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease." Okay, I answered these questions, so I'll just go over them with you. Some of these questions, like I said in these earlier weeks, seems a bit childish. It seems juvenile. But when I was a kid, what did I do on rainy days? Nothing much, honestly. If it was a school day, I went to school. If it was a weekend, I would watch TV, like I would always do. What was the longest you have ever had to wait in line for? Longest to wait in line. That's um. I don't know. I don't really go. To be honest with you, I haven't really gone out in public in a bit of a while. I haven't been to a grocery store in a bit of a while. I say, well, the last time I did have to wait in a line was when I was at the DMV getting a new license. I had to wait for the DMV to open. And that's just how it is, first come, first serve. So I got there, and there were a couple people in front of me. I got there about 15 minutes early. So I just waited for 15 minutes to get my driver's license. Was it worth it? Yeah, it was worth it. I got my driver's license. One, what do you think Noah and his family did while they waited in the ark for so long? I picked rejoice continuing. I can't read. Continually in God's deliverance. Because, if you were Noah and you were Noah's family, you would have to believe in God. You would have to obey God. You would have to, keep believing in God, of course. Did they play a lot of card games? It seems juvenile since this is the Bible. Like, oh, they just played video games all day. I don't think so. I think that they stayed busy, taking care of the animals and praying about God, believing in God. And then at this time too, there wasn't a lot of studies on Jesus and then God about the Bible. It's not like they could pick up the Bible because at this point the Bible didn't even exist. From my knowledge, my past knowledge of Christianity, the Bible really wasn't a thing of worship until later on in these chapters, in these books. But I do believe that they kept up offerings of God and listened to what he had to say. Became the world's first small group. I didn't pick that one because, again, it seemed a bit juvenile. But arguing, that seems a bit plausible because I do want to know more about Noah's family because it seemed like Noah was very open on listening to God about the ark. So I really want to know what his wife thought about God speaking through him. I want to know what his sons thought about God speaking through him. I am sure that they argued about, whose turn it was to clean up the animals. And then I am also sure that they did argue about, how many more days am I going to be stuck here? But out of all these answers, I believe rejoice continually in God's deliverance seems to be the most plausible answer of them all. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, I picked 5 on, and just in my opinion, how impatient would you have been if the dove that you sent kept you waiting? I would be a 5 only because if I was in Noah's shoes, you have to be patient because you can't rush God. You can't rush Mother Nature. But on the other hand, I would be impatient. Like, oh man, I've been in this ark for so many days. Now I gotta do this. Man, what the hell? So I would be a bit impatient, but I wouldn't be very angry about it either if I was in Noah's shoes. Because if I had animals, if I had food and water in the ark, I could do that for the rest of my life, But I think I would be a little bit pissed off. And then 3, what kind of waiting is the most frustrating for you? I picked being patient with others and being patient with myself. And 4, the flood ended with good news. Which of the following is good news to me? Out of all these, I picked God will never again destroy all the living creatures, because I found it a bit selfish that, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then he did this flood. He destroyed all living creatures again and again, right? So, knowing that he's never going to do this again brings me peace of mind. And then also, God is like the four seasons, There's always going to be a summer, always going to be a winter, right? And he says here that he promises, that as long as that there's summer and winter, day and night, he won't ever destroy all living creatures, which is a good thing, And then all these are good too, but I just picked these two. To me, that seemed as if it is the best answers. This was a bit skeptical to me, just because God does love people, even though we are sinful. That's more of Jesus's protocol. Jesus loves you no matter what. To me, God is someone that you should fear. Because I read somewhere in Genesis that you should fear God. I read that somewhere, that in order to believe in God, you have to be fear of him. You need to be fearful of him. I read that somewhere. I know it's in there somewhere. My dogs are barking. Then God is always pleased with sincere worship. Some truth of that, it's true. But then, if you go back to the story of Cain and Abel, God did not appreciate Cain's offering. Sorry about that, my dogs were barking. They're outside. Don't want the neighbors to complain, so I had to go out and take care of that. But where was I? Yeah, so Cain and Abel, God, I almost said Jesus, is because he does take good of offerings, but it seems to me that God takes favorites in offerings, because look at this. Cain and his offering, he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry. I mean, yeah, I'll be angry too, but still, that doesn't mean you should get angry just because somebody don't like you. Doesn't mean it's okay to be angry back. But just given the fact that the Lord looked with favor on Abel, but also Cain he gave God what he had. He worked in the soil. He didn't have much money, but he still chose to give offering to the Lord. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have much, but he gave what he had. And so it seems a bit rude to me not to accept Cain's offering, knowing that he worked in the soil. But he still chose to give God offerings. He didn't have to, but he chose to. And that's one of the reasons why, where was it? I did not put God is always pleased with sincere worship. When clearly, chapters before, the evidence shows that clearly he's not pleased with sincere worship. Because even though Cain's offering was sincere, it just wasn't expensive enough. It just wasn't big enough. So I didn't put that there, just knowing on what I know so far. And then moving on, what is the point of the story do you most need today? I need more patience. I have patience, I just need to work on it. We all need to work on patience, I believe. And I need guidance, because in my life, there's a lot of things going on that I think I need help with. 6 is, where in your life do you feel like you are waiting on hold? Getting a job. So the thing with me getting a job is I had a job interview 3 weeks ago. And they are still in the process of doing my background check, doing another interview, then another interview after the interview, then filling me out a form. And recently, on Wednesday, I filled out this form and they told me to wait 3 business days And so you don't really count Wednesday because I submitted the form the afternoon on Wednesday, so you count Thursday, business day, Friday, business day, and today's Saturday. You don't count the weekends. And so the patience of getting a job, because how long will it take for me to get a job? And then another one is completing my goals. I have a bunch of goals that I have written down on a piece of paper, and so having patience with completing them. And where I sense God, I don't sense God anywhere in my life except my family, only because my mother goes to church. She went to church yesterday actually at 8 p.m. at night. She goes to church every couple days. She goes to church every Sunday, and then her church they have a Wednesday service, so she goes every Wednesday. But yesterday she went Friday because her friend goes to a different church, and her friend has a church service Friday night. So she went with her friend yesterday, Friday night at 8 p.m. To me, I think it's crazy. I mean, who studies the Bible that late at night? Because my mom came home at 8, no, my mom came home at 10:15 p.m. last night, late at night. But, if she's happy, she's, believing in the Lord Jesus Christ, and then, who am I to judge, right? So that's where I sense God, that God loves my mom, and Jesus loves my mom. How can you pray? How can this group pray for me today? This isn't gonna relate to this story, but today, before reading the Bible, my parents got mad at me. We had a bit of an argument, well, more of my mom. It's not really more of an argument, it's more of my parents are belittling me. Belittle, is that the word? Belittle. Belittle. Um, that conversation was surrounded with my sexuality. And I told them that I don't really see the problem with it because I'm not seeing anybody. I don't really know who I am right now. All I know is that I like to dress like a boy. And in the Asian culture, even if you're not gay, women are supposed to look like women and men are supposed to look like men. And I told my mom that, I don't think anywhere in the Bible does it state that women can, has to wear a certain thing. It just states that women should be with man should be with woman, right? I'm a dog person. I love my dogs at the end of the day if I'm with my dogs, and then I don't need anybody else to keep me company. But about 3 hours, 2.5 hours of the morning, they was just yelling about the fact that I look like a boy. And then also my dogs. My family wants to get rid of my dogs because they don't like dogs. It's a long story. And then also the fact that I don't have a job, that I'm almost 25. I understand, and I told them that, I'm trying to find a job, and I'm supposed to hear something back on Monday, but that's also what I always say, that they're supposed to email me. They told me Wednesday they're going to email me, and then they told me they're going to email me, right? But I feel like this time's different because I've never had a second job interview. Well, like a follow-up job interview, which I did at this place. And I don't know why it's taking so long. They said they were doing background check, takes 3 business days, and they're going to interview me again for some odd reason. It just seems like all I ever do these days is fill out applications, do more interviews after the interviews, and interviews after the interview about the interview I just had. You know what I mean? And I don't know how that revolves around praying for me. It's just something that happened today, and my mom even told me that maybe you won't be gay if you read the Bible. I so badly want to tell her that, look, Mom, I actually have been reading the Bible for the past month. I just said, okay, she has no idea that I'm doing this challenge. She has no idea that I'm reading the Bible once a week, and she has no idea that I read the Bible 2 times last week, because last week I read on a Wednesday, and I read on a Sunday, so 2 times in 1 week. Because I don't want her to know that I read the Bible. Only because if I do tell her I read the Bible, she wants to watch all of my videos, and then she's probably going to listen to them and say, this is not how you interpret the Bible, or this is the wrong way you read it. You're not reading the right Bible. Why are you reading the Old Testament first? Why are you talking about your life? You should only be focused about the Bible, which is true, right? So that's why I want to tell her, but I don't want to tell her at the same time, just because I don't want her perspective of the Bible ruin my perspective of the Bible. Because if I tell her that I'm reading Genesis, and then she'll somehow be like, oh, you have to read this chapter before you read Genesis because it explains it differently. And then before you read Genesis, you have to read this chapter and then this chapter. And then when I tell her that I don't want to do that, Mom, I want to read from beginning to end. No pun intended, but I want to do that. And then she'll probably say, that's not the right way to read the Bible. That's not how you do it. I don't want her opinions to affect my opinion on the Bible, because that's one of the reasons why it took me so long to actually start reading, because her way of reading the Bible is very boring to me, and it's just sometimes it could just be too much, because I don't want to read the Bible for 8 hours a day. I just don't want to do that. And so that's why I've drifted so far from trying to read the Bible, because of that. I don't really know how that is a prayer, how you can pray for me. I don't really know. But I can flip it and say, how can I pray for you, whoever comes across these videos, is to... Well, this isn't going to relate to this verse, but to... How do I say this? To keep going, despite everything. To keep going. When you say you're going to do something, finish it. Even if you know that the end result is going to be terrible, just finish it anyway. I so badly want to quit reading the Bible after today, because today my mom, she threw some Bible verses at me that, man shall not lay man, God doesn't love you because you're like this. I go to church. Maybe you should go to church too because of blah, blah, blah. My friends from church think you're a boy. My friends from church think that you're not a girl. My friends from church say this, and it makes me not want to read the Bible, because I hear all this negative things about people, about my mom's friends, and then I'm like, well, they read the Bible. Why are they so negative? And then when I read the Bible, every time I associate the word Bible, I always think of those people. It's really hard for me to read the Bible knowing that the people who do read the Bible say those things about me. It's really hard to love people. To love those people who hate who I am. Especially today, literally 2 hours before I started reading the Bible, we had an argument of, when I was at church yesterday, my friend so-and-so said this about you. Or when my friends came to the house last week, they thought you were a boy, and that made me angry. Well, that made my mom angry. She, in her perspective, which I understand. She told me that last week when her friends were over. My mom, she got really mad because they thought that I was a boy. My mom isn't mad that they judge me. My mom is mad because they judge her. My mom wants to be popular, she doesn't want anyone pointing fingers. She's not mad that they bully me. They're mad that they made fun of her. Because in the Korean culture, if your child did something wrong, even if your child isn't gay or not gay, but if your child is fat, ugly, doesn't have a job, they blame the parents. They don't blame the child, and I understand that. It's just really hard reading the Bible, well, more specifically, believing in God, knowing that I will never be accepted for who I am. And two, I'm not even seeing anybody. I'm not kissing anybody. I'm not doing anything with anybody. But looking like a guy when I am a girl, apparently that's a sin in whatever religion that you believe in. So my prayer for you is do the hard thing, like Noah did. Noah didn't have to believe in God. He didn't have to build this ark. He didn't have to, but he did it anyway. So do that. Be Noah. Do the hard thing. Do the right thing. Sometimes doing the right thing is going to be the most boring thing. The right thing for me to do is to keep reading the Bible, keep having an open mind, and just keep doing what I can. Just be like Noah. Just have more patience. Don't be like Cain. Cain, yeah, I can understand how he got mad, but just because someone, let's just say hypothetically, just because someone took $2 from you doesn't mean you need to take $2 from them. Two wrongs don't make it right. At the end of the day, it's all about becoming the better person. If somebody yells at you, that doesn't make it okay for you to yell at them, because that shows them you're just as bad as they are. Become the bigger person. This is what Noah did. He became the bigger person. He didn't have to do all of this. He could have just sat around and just died. You know what I mean? Like he didn't have to build an ark. He didn't have to do any of this. But he did anyway. And look at us now. We're all living because of Noah. Because if God sent this flood, it would kill off every single living species. And there was no living species, no one could multiply. And with that, I wouldn't be making this video. You wouldn't be watching this video as well. It's because of Noah that we are here today. And also God, because he created the heavens and the earth. But also he destroyed the heavens and the earth. And then he created it again. So that's just something to think about. If someone does you wrong, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should do wrong back. And the famous saying, an eye for an eye, it's not true, You don't have to be bad. Maybe you can be good. I know that I'm never going to change because this is just who I am as a person. I've always been like this. So the thing that I can do is to not become bitter, become better. The people who read the Bible, who preach about, I read the Bible, they're not happy people. You would think that they read the Bible that they're nice. They're not. That's why it's just really hard for me to believe in God, knowing that the people who read the Bible are so filled with hate. That makes me opposed to the Bible. Like, man, what's the point, But anyway, moving on to 9. We're gonna read 9 and then stop for the day. Oh, 9. Oh no, 9 is only a page and a half. All right. God's covenant with Noah. And then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth." See, that's what I just talked about. If it wasn't for Noah having sex and for his sons, we wouldn't be here today. The fear and the dread of you will fall upon all the beasts of the earth and all the birds of the air, upon every creature that moves along the ground. And upon all the fish of the sea that are given into your hands, everything that lives and moves will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal and from each man too. I will demand an accounting for the life of his fellow man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made men. As for you, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Damn, God really said, have sex. He really said, enjoy it while it lasts. He really said that. Because he said that twice now. He said that twice so far. Damn. He really wants you to have some fun. And then God said to Noah and his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you, and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all the generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of a covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all life on earth. The sons of Noah. Man, this is one of these boring chapters of they're gonna list every single name, like we did in Genesis 4, I believe. It was just names. This is gonna be another boring one. Oh my gosh. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the three sons of Noah, and from them came the people who were scattered over the earth. Noah, a man of soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. And then they walked in backward and covered their father's nakedness. Their faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his younger son has done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves, he will be in his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend the territory of Japheth. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his slave. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years, although Noah lived 950 years, and then he died. I mean, this is what I mean. This is almost like the eye for an eye. I mean, I get it that he told his two brothers about it, but I need more backstory. Did Ham, laugh about it? Did he go yo, Dad's naked, ha ha ha? Or did Ham go, yo, Dad's naked, I don't know what to do? Was it like that, or did he laugh? But it seems to me that if you do wrong in the eyes of God, he will punish you. Even as little as just saying something, if you say something wrong, God's like, yeah, you're gonna be banished. That seems to be a bit far-fetched to me. It's not like he killed someone. So, that's a bit crazy that God did that. There's no questions. There's no questions for this one. we're gonna end it here. Today was good. We read 8 and 9. Next week, we're going to read 10 and 11 and possibly 12 because 10 is pretty short. Yeah. Alright. Well, this is good. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much. Alright. You want to read 10, guys? Do you want to? Let's read 10. This is going to be a boring one. The Table of Nations. This is the account of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's son, who themselves had sons after the flood. The Zabinites, the son of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madi, Zavin, Tumbal, Manish, and Tyrus. Tyrus, did he just? I'm sorry. The sons of Gomer. Some of these names I can't even pronounce. Hashkids, Ribath, and Togamal. The sons of Javan, Elishah, Tarhish, the Kinnim, and the Roninham. From these are the maritime people spread out into their territories by their clans within their nations, each with its own language. The Hamites, the son of Ham, Cush, Mizrahim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush, Siba, Ahava, Sapta, Rama, and Saptaka. The sons of Rama. I know that these names, I know that I'm not pronouncing them right. Sheba and Dinan. Cush was the father of Nimrod, who grew to be a mighty warrior on the earth. That's cool. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. This is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord, the first centers of his kingdom were Babylon, Ekrosh, Akkad, and Calneh, and Shinar. From that land he went to Azur, Syria. It's like Azur, Syria, where he built Neviva, Rehoboth, Kala, and Rishon, which is between Nava and Kala. This is the great city. This is so hard to read. Mizraim was the father of the Ludites, Adamites, Lahabites, Namutites, Paderasites. I'm just gonna read this to myself, guys. I'm just gonna read this to myself. Okay, that was it for 10. I really wonder what descendants I came from in the Bible. I really wonder that. Because if we're all from Noah. Whoa, I just realized something. If Adam and Eve had sex, they had Cain and Abel. Wait, did Cain and Abel have their. Yeah, they had their kids. Because all their ancestors, and then Noah came about. And then when God did the flood, he basically destroyed all the bloodline from Adam and Eve. Like except from Noah, because Noah is from, well, they're from descendants of Cain and Abel, because Cain and Abel had kids, and then their kids had kids, and then they had Noah. I remember, I forgot who Noah came from, but Adam and Eve, and then they had Cain and Abel, and Cain and Abel had their kids, and their kids had their kids, and then Noah had his kids, and blah blah blah. And so when the flood came, he basically got rid of everyone else except Noah. So I guess, yeah, we are still we still came from Adam and Eve, but in reality, it's like God created a new world where He got rid of all the bad, and it's in our blood to do good, because we all came from Noah. So I wonder what my bloodline looks like. Who am I from? You know? What does my ancestor bloodline looks like in the Bible? That's just something to think about. I mean, I highly doubt it that I am from Noah's bloodline. But if the Bible were true, we're all technically connected. You know, really, we are. If you really draw it back, we're all technically connected. Even though Adam and Eve died during the flood, and their kids had their kids, their kids had their kids, all died, there was still Noah. Noah is from Adam and Eve. Well, not really. He's not their kids, but it's in its blood, is passed down. Where was that? Where they listed all the generations. Oh, yeah, from Adam and Noah. Yeah, when Lamech had lived 182 years, he had a son, he named him Noah. Yeah. Right here, this is what I mean. Genesis 5, this whole generation is like when God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. And then like Adam and Eve, he had a son, Cain and Abel. And then they had another son because both of their sons, were not good. So they had another son, Adam and Eve, and they named him Seth. And then Seth had his kids has his kids, his kids has his kids, his kids has another kid. And then all goes down to finally Noah was born. So technically we're all connected to Noah. Because if it looks like this, his kids has their kids, my kids have their kids, blah 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 blah. We're all connected back to Noah, if you really think about it. And if Noah is the kid of Lamech, Lamech is the kid of his kid, of their kids, their kids, their kids, we're all connected to Adam and Eve. That's just something to think about, guys.